After weeks of guilt weighing on him, Chima finally opened up to his oldest friend, Uche, one of the few people who had remained supportive despite the changes in him. Late one night, he confided in Uche about the secret society, the tasks he'd done, and the sense of being trapped. Uche listened, stunned but supportive, urging Chima to leave the society. "This isn't you, Chima. The money, the status, it's not worth losing yourself." The conversation left F feeling a mix of relief and fear. Leaving the society felt like the right thing, but he knew they wouldn't let him go easily. The society noticed Chima's hesitation and reluctance in his recent tasks. Desmond warned him that his lack of commitment was being watched closely. "Loyalty is non-negotiable, Chima," Desmond said, his tone laced with an unspoken threat. Desmond gave him an ultimatum: perform one last critical task, or face the consequences of betrayal. Chima knew that going through with it would mean further crossing lines he could never uncross, but the fear of retribution kept him from refusing. He was trapped, and he knew it. Amaka's suspicions grew as Chima became increasingly distant. One day, she followed him after he left a meeting with Desmond, trailing him to one of the society's secret locations. Confronting him, she demanded the truth, refusing to let him hide behind excuses any longer. Cornered, Chima admitted his involvement with the society, leaving out the most dangerous details. Amaka was horrified, not just at his actions, but at how deeply he'd become involved with something so dark. She gave him an ultimatum of her own: leave the society, or lose her. Chima faced a pivotal decision: leave the society to salvage his relationship with Amaka and possibly his own conscience, or continue down the dark path he'd committed to for so long. He weighed the risks, the power the society held over him, and the uncertainty of his future if he left. After a sleepless night, he resolved to confront Desmond and end his involvement, prepared to face whatever consequences came his way. For the first time in a long time, he felt a glimmer of freedom, a sense of taking back control of his own destiny. Chima met Desmond, his resolve steady as he announced his decision to leave. Desmond was furious, warning him that leaving wasn't an option. Chima expected threats, but the cold anger in Desmond's eyes revealed just how serious the consequences would be. Desmond made it clear: leaving meant more than just severing ties, it meant risking everything. But Chima held his ground, refusing to let fear control him any longer. Desmond's final words chilled him: "You'll regret this, Chima. The society doesn't forget." In the days following his departure, Chima began noticing signs of retaliation. His academic standing was mysteriously put under review, and rumors began circulating about him, tarnishing his reputation. Friends distanced themselves, and even professors seemed wary. It became clear that the society was actively working to destroy his credibility and future. Chima tried to hold his head high, refusing to let them intimidate him, but each act of sabotage reminded him of the dangerous influence he'd crossed. Despite the retaliation, Amaka and Uche stood by him. Amaka offered her family's legal resources to protect him, while Uche provided moral support, helping him withstand the mental and emotional strain. For the first time, Chima realized the power of genuine loyalty and friendship, something that no amount of money or prestige could buy. Their support gave him strength, reminding him of who he truly was and why he had chosen to leave the society. With Amaka and Uche by his side, Chima began the process of rebuilding. Though the society's reach had damaged his reputation, he focused on his academics, working hard to reclaim his place on campus and restore his dreams. He learned that true success wasn't about wealth or status, but about staying true to oneself. The experience left scars, but Chima emerged wiser, determined to live a life defined by integrity and real connections. Though he would never forget the allure of the secret society, he knew he was finally free from its grasp, ready to pursue a future he could be proud of. After Chima's decision to leave, the society's intimidation tactics became more intense. He felt watched everywhere he went, glancing over his shoulder at every step. His phone started receiving cryptic, anonymous messages reminding him of his obligations. Though Chima tried to brush it off, a growing sense of dread lingered, making him realize just how powerful and vindictive the society was. Amaka encouraged him to stay vigilant, even suggesting they involve her family's private investigator, but Chima declined, unwilling to drag her into further danger. He wanted to stand firm, to face whatever they threw at him without compromising anyone else. Desmond contacted Chima one last time, claiming there was still a way out. He offered a deal, complete one last, high-stakes task, and he would be free of the society's reach. Chima was skeptical but intrigued. He knew the risk, but part of him longed to end things on his terms and finally sever the last link to the society. The task, however, was more dangerous than he expected. He was to steal critical academic data from the university, a move that could jeopardize not just him but many students. Chima refused outright, seeing through Desmond's ploy. But this refusal marked a point of no return, solidifying his status as a traitor to the society. The society retaliated harshly. Through anonymous accounts and planted rumors, they spread accusations of academic dishonesty, painting Chima as someone who had cheated his way to his scholarship. Within days, Chima's name became infamous on campus. Professors and students alike looked at him with distrust, and his scholarship was suddenly under review by the university. Chima fought to clear his name, but he was up against a powerful and well-connected adversary. Frustrated and cornered, he considered going public with what he knew about the society, but the risks were enormous. He'd seen how they operated, and he knew they wouldn't stop until he was completely ruined. Amaka and Uche urged Chima to stay strong, reminding him of what he stood for. Their support helped him stay grounded, but the constant pressure weighed on him. For the first time, he wondered if walking away from the society had been a mistake, if he should have just played along and kept his status secure. But each time he considered giving in, he remembered the way the society had used him, shaping his life and choices according to their whims. He realized that the cost of freedom, of reclaiming his future, was worth any hardship he had to endure. Determined to turn the tables, Chima began collecting evidence of the society's influence on campus. Quietly, with Uche's help, he noted every encounter, every threat, and every incident where the society's reach became evident. Amaka used her contacts to find legal avenues, knowing they'd need concrete proof if they wanted to expose the society and clear Chima's name. This covert investigation gave Chima a renewed sense of purpose. Though risky, the idea of exposing the society's manipulations was empowering. He no longer felt like a victim but like someone fighting back, taking control of his own story. Chima's efforts took a turn when he met another student, James, who had also suffered at the hands of the society. James had joined in hopes of achieving career success but had similarly felt trapped, unable to break free. Realizing their shared struggles, F and James decided to work together, combining their evidence and experiences. With James's help, Chima now had enough information to build a strong case. They began preparing an anonymous report to send to a trusted professor who was known for advocating student rights. The stakes were higher than ever, but Chima knew that this was his best chance at finally escaping the society's grip. Chima and James submitted their evidence to the professor, who was initially shocked but receptive. The professor assured them that the allegations would be taken seriously, promising an investigation into the society's influence. For the first time, Chima felt a weight lift off his shoulders. He had taken a stand, choosing integrity over fear. However, Chima knew that the society would not take this lightly. He braced himself, aware that he had made himself a target once again. But this time, he felt ready, empowered by the knowledge that he was no longer fighting alone. The society's retaliation was swift and brutal. Anonymous messages flooded Chima's phone, warning him to retract his allegations. A thinly veiled threat arrived in the form of a letter in his dorm room, reminding him that loyalty is eternal. Even Desmond made one final, ominous appearance, urging F to reconsider or face the consequences. But Chima stood firm, refusing to be cowed by their threats. His courage only grew, bolstered by Amaka, Uche, and James, who refused to let him face the danger alone. They promised to stand by him no matter what, forming a tight circle of trust and support around him. The university began investigating the society, with rumors swirling about who might be implicated. Several professors and students with connections to the society were put under scrutiny, and the campus atmosphere shifted as fear rippled through those who had benefited from the society's shadowy dealings. Chima's bravery inspired others, and more students began coming forward with stories of manipulation and coercion. The society's hold on campus was weakening, and for the first time, F felt that his decision to fight back was paying off. In a surprising twist, one of Chima's professors approached him, revealing their own discontent with the society's influence. This professor, Dr. Williams, had long suspected the society's operations but had lacked proof. Inspired by Chima's courage, Dr. Williams offered to help bring the case to light, using their academic standing to pressure the administration into a full-scale investigation. With Dr. Williams's support, Chima felt his chances of defeating the society grow. He began to see that change was possible, that he could reclaim his future from the shadows that had tried to consume him. As the investigation deepened, the society's influence began to crumble. Several high-ranking members were identified and suspended, and their reputation on campus was in shambles. The administration, eager to distance itself from the scandal, announced new policies to ensure transparency and protect students from such coercive groups. Chima watched as the society's once powerful grip on his life disintegrated. He felt a profound sense of relief, mixed with a tinge of sorrow for those who, like him, had been drawn into its allure. With the society dismantled, Chima was officially cleared of all accusations, and his scholarship was restored. He resumed his studies with a renewed sense of purpose, focusing on his goals and embracing the true friendships he had almost lost in the process. Amaka and Uche celebrated with him, and Chima felt an overwhelming gratitude for their loyalty and support. For the first time since joining the society, he felt free, truly free to be himself, unburdened by the weight of secrets and deceit. Desmond reached out one last time, a defeated figure now stripped of his former power. He warned Chima that though the society might be weakened, its influence could never truly disappear. "You may have won here, but power has a way of surviving," he said, a bitter reminder of the war Chima had fought to escape. Chima nodded, understanding the warning but refusing to be intimidated. He had made his choice, and he was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Desmond's words lingered, but they no longer held the power they once did. Chima spent the rest of the semester focused on healing and rebuilding. He reached out to those he had wronged during his time in the society, hoping to make amends. Many forgave him, understanding the pressures he had been under, and he slowly rebuilt the bridges he had once thought destroyed. Through this process, Chima learned the importance of self-forgiveness, realizing that the path to redemption lay in his willingness to face his mistakes and make things right. As graduation approached, Chima reflected on his journey. He had lost his way but had found himself again, emerging stronger and wiser. He knew now that success wasn't about wealth or status but about staying true to oneself and valuing the people who stood by him in his darkest moments. Chima looked forward to his future with hope, determined to forge a path that was authentically his, free from the pressures that had once dictated his every move. In the years that followed, Chima became an advocate for students, speaking out against coercive groups and encouraging young people to pursue their dreams with integrity. His story inspired many, and he became known not for the wealth he once sought, but for his courage and resilience. Amaka and Uche remained by his side, celebrating his achievements and the life he had chosen, a life defined by honesty, strength, and true freedom. Chima began his final year with a sense of purpose he'd never felt before. No longer weighed down by the pressures of the secret society, he focused on his academics and newfound goals. Inspired by his experience, he decided to volunteer with campus organizations that supported students facing difficult choices, especially those from underprivileged backgrounds like himself. He became a mentor to younger students, sharing his story in a way that inspired resilience and integrity. Through this work, he found a deeper purpose that went beyond academic success or social standing. He wanted to leave a positive impact on the lives of others. Chima's relationships with Amaka and Uche deepened. They had been his anchor during the most challenging period of his life, and he wanted them to know how much they meant to him. Together, they shared laughter and stories of their future plans, no longer shadowed by secrecy or fear. Amaka and Chima began envisioning a future together. Despite their differences in background, their shared experiences had made them inseparable. They made plans to support each other's dreams, each willing to adapt and compromise. For the first time, Chima felt hopeful about his future and grateful for the love and friendship that had brought him back to himself. Chima's story had garnered attention, and several campus publications reached out to him to share his experience with the society. Initially hesitant, he ultimately decided to share his story, carefully omitting names but revealing the dangers of the kind of allure that had once pulled him in. His article became a powerful narrative about resilience, cautioning students against making choices solely for wealth or status. Chima's courage in sharing his story brought him new respect from both students and faculty, and he found a sense of fulfillment in using his experiences to guide others. Graduation day was a moment of triumph for Chima. Walking across the stage, he felt the culmination of everything he had fought for, the struggles, sacrifices, and growth. His family, who had heard little about his trials, were in the audience, beaming with pride. Seeing their joy filled F with a renewed sense of responsibility, reminding him why he'd worked so hard to escape the society's grip. Amaka and Uche were there as well, cheering him on, sharing in his victory. Chima took a moment to reflect on how much he had changed and the life he was finally ready to live on his own terms. Desmond, now a shadow of his former self, approached Chima after the ceremony, offering an uneasy truce. "You did well, Chima. Perhaps you're stronger than I gave you credit for," he admitted, though his words carried a hint of resentment. Chima looked at him with a mixture of pity and relief. He no longer felt anger or fear toward Desmond, only gratitude for the lessons his trials had taught him. Without animosity, he simply said, "Goodbye, Desmond," knowing that his life would never again be bound by people like him. Chima moved into his first job with a local NGO, supporting young people facing challenging circumstances. His work allowed him to give back to his community, providing scholarships, mentorship, and support to students in need. Every story he heard reminded him of his own journey and reaffirmed his choice to help others. He found peace and fulfillment in this work, realizing that wealth and prestige no longer held the allure they once did. For Chima, success was now about lifting others, something the society could never understand. As the years went by, Chima often reflected on his journey. He'd learned the value of integrity, friendship, and standing up for what was right, no matter the cost. These lessons shaped his character and guided him through each new challenge he faced. While he still bore scars from his time in the society, he saw them as reminders of the person he had become. Chima resolved to live each day with purpose, ensuring his choices would always align with the values he held close to his heart. Chima began a mentorship program for students from underprivileged backgrounds, ensuring they received the support he once lacked. His program encouraged young people to pursue their goals without compromising their integrity, offering scholarships, workshops, and counseling. The impact was profound. Many students thrived under Chima's guidance, sharing their stories with gratitude. Watching them grow reminded Chima of his own transformation, and he felt immense pride in helping them avoid the pitfalls he had once faced. Chima and Amaka's relationship blossomed as they grew together, sharing dreams and navigating life's challenges with mutual respect and support. Though their lives were busy, they always made time for each other, valuing the trust and loyalty that had seen them through Chima's darkest times. Eventually, they decided to marry, bringing together their two families from vastly different worlds. The union symbolized not just their love, but the resilience and growth they had both undergone. For Chima, marrying Amaka felt like a full-circle moment, a victory over the struggles that had once threatened to tear them apart. One day, Chima heard that some remnants of the society were attempting a comeback on campus. Concerned, he reached out to Dr. Williams and other allies to ensure the group's influence was kept in check. Together, they advocated for tighter regulations and transparency to prevent such groups from exploiting vulnerable students. Through this effort, Chima strengthened his resolve, knowing that he was protecting future students from the struggles he had faced. It was a final act of closure, a way of ensuring his own past experiences would lead to lasting change. Years later, Chima's story became an inspiration. His former university celebrated his work, and he was invited back to share his journey with new students. His words resonated deeply, especially with those facing tough choices about their futures. Chima realized that his story had become a legacy, one that urged students to value integrity, resilience, and authenticity. In sharing his experiences, he continued to encourage young people to pursue success without compromising who they were. Amaka's career as a lawyer flourished, and together, she and Chima founded an initiative to provide pro bono legal support to students and underprivileged individuals. Their work empowered countless people, embodying the values of justice and compassion that had driven them both. Chima was proud of their shared vision and grateful to have a partner who inspired him daily. Together, they transformed the hardships they had faced into a mission of purpose, building a life of service and shared dreams. Uche's success mirrored Chima's in many ways. The three friends remained close, their bond unbreakable. Uche started a thriving business, using his resources to support Chima and Amaka's initiatives. Their friendship had withstood immense trials, and they celebrated each other's triumphs, knowing the strength it had taken to reach this place. They often gathered to reminisce, grateful for the journey that had united them. Chima knew that without his friends, he might never have broken free from the society's grip, and he cherished their unwavering support. Years later, Chima stood before a group of graduating students, offering his final words of wisdom. He reflected on his journey, the choices he'd made, and the people who had helped him along the way. He urged the students to pursue their dreams with integrity, to value true friendships, and to always remember that success was about who they became, not just what they achieved. As he left the stage, Chima felt a deep sense of peace. His journey had been filled with trials, but it had led him to a life of purpose, integrity, and fulfillment. He walked away with a smile, knowing he had created a legacy that would inspire others long after he was gone.